All righty. Well, welcome to my annual free stellar planning workshop. This is for the year of 2025, and I know I talked about 2024 being a new era because we had a significant planetary shift, but 2025 is absolutely a new era, and a linchpin and a significant energetic shift that's going to be with us for the next 20 years. So, how we set up our container and how we go about doing things in this year will help give us tone and structure for a long time to come. I'm Melissa Brisbane, also known as Melissa of Eighth House Wisdom, and I'm excited to be doing this again. I believe this is the fourth or fifth year in a row that I am doing this love offering, because astrology is such a powerful tool for navigating the world. People don't usually go outside without checking the weather report. So I feel the same way about checking in on natural cycles and stellar positions, right? This is the missing piece for most of us when it comes to understanding where to place things in our calendar and in what order to attack our dreams, attack our wishes, sequence our goals. So, this year's presentation is titled Manifest and Innovate a New Era in the New Year with Astrology. And that is what I hope this primer of information supports everyone in doing. Just a little bit more about me. I am an author, I'm an intuitive, I'm an astrological coach and business astrologer. I am trained as a clinical psychotherapist and an integrative health and lifestyle practitioner. I'm an expert around applying feminine energy and stellar planning. And this whole content is birthed out of my experience of transitioning from a corporate and professional space into full time entrepreneurship. And in order to make that transition as seamless and painless as possible, I used my birth chart because encoded in everyone's chart are your natural energetic cycles and the instructions that you need to make the most of whatever is showing up for you. Um, that's why I call our birth charts a personalized life instruction manual. Your business also exists in your birth chart, your purpose and what you need to do. And there it's more like a personalized business operating manual. But whatever you are uniquely supposed to do exists in your chart. And in my two practices, Eighth House Wisdom focused on business astrology and creating content that supports understanding that. And then at Wisdom Integrative Wellness, where I provide coaching and integrative health supports, I'm all about teaching women how to enhance their performance across the board, how to step in with ease and grace to life, and to get into flow state. Because whether you're fem energy identifying or biologically feminine in a woman, we are naturally more sensitive. We are designed to be more sensitive to energy. Women are like the moon. The moon has multiple phases and multiple faces. And so understanding how to utilize that and shifting paradigms from trying to be consistent, like the sun that always rises and sets, maybe higher in the sky, maybe lower in the sky, but there's never a day where we don't have sun, is a comedy of errors and pretty much it's a losing battle because you're lunar. And there are days when the moon isn't out. There are days where the moon is bright and shiny. And there are days where we're growing in energy and dimming. The more we understand that energetic flow, the better we can be to ourselves. And this is what I most enjoy teaching about when it comes to the process of stellar planning. So, today, what we're going to cover, um, please make sure you mute yourself when you come in. So what we're going to cover today are the basic tenets of stellar planning, and that's pretty much here. We're going to focus on the formula for aligning yourself to natural cycles to get into cyclical flow and experience more softness while achieving, because I am not suggesting that we can't get things done. We just have to go about it in a different way. Give some thematic information about what's happening with the major aspects of 2025, which is essentially the big container for us to be thinking about. Talk a little bit about what retrograde season is going to look like and how we can appropriately utilize that for our good. Look at lunar cycles and eclipses, and end with the planetary days. So we're going to go from the big down to the micro. So let's start with stellar planning. If you've been to any of my workshops before, the what and the why of stellar planning is essentially an applied astrology formula to plan your year, your week, and your day in a state of flow that works best for women and feminine energy identifying people. Stellar planning naturally puts you in flow with the energy and the natural cycles of the universe so that you experience less resistance. That helps us save energy and helps us get more accomplished, which is crucial because most women who I attract and most women that I know are super high achievers. And we have to watch out for overfunctioning. And as someone who has rehabbed herself from adrenal fatigue, um, and just figured out a bit more about how my body works and how to work with that, it is absolutely for me imperative that I understand my own energetic flow and what's in front of me so I don't ambitiously, for my head and my masculine energy, put forth goals and ideas that actually create fatigue, resistance, and difficulty in my body and in the in the application of it. So, the process of stellar planning creates greater flow and alignment in how you schedule your life events and work on your goals. It's even more powerful when applied to your birth chart. The beauty of this is you can utilize stellar planning not knowing a thing about your birth chart, not really knowing a thing about astrology other than following the blueprint. However, your birth chart is unique to you. Even twins who are born on the same day and the same time, usual or within moments of each other, will split their chart, and toning or shifting the information specifically to how your energetic blueprint is set up is what allows for the greatest fit. And for women, we really need this, as I was talking about, for the sensitivity that we naturally possess and the fact that we are lunar aligned, right? We have many phases and we're not always in the same place at the same time. So, basic principles around stellar planning are to track the sun's position, right? Because we have 12 zodiac seasons, and that will give you an indication of the larger masculine energy container for each month. You want to check to see what retrogrades, if any, are going on at a particular period of time so that you know how to work with that energy. Then you want to go in and apply the lunar wisdom formula as we look at lunar cycles and what that means and track the new and full moons throughout the year. And just as a reminder, I'm always working across multiple schedules. The end of the Gregorian calendar is 12/31, right? The wheel of the year, which starts for me with Yule, happens on 12/21. And then, of course, we have a lunar calendar, which is 13 months, not 12. So that usually happens sometime between January and February of the following year. And this year, it's going to be January 29th. So we're wanting to think about those things. Again, most people are really excited about planning and thinking about setting up ideas for their year ahead. So, understanding and knowing some of those little goals and dates are helpful. And then finally, we want to check if you know your yearly transits or the yearly transits that are happening with the planets in the sky, right? That's the basic level. This planet is moving into this sign. That means this thematically to the energy. And this is a rare event that will not be happening again in the near future. So you want to look at those outliers so that you have a full picture of what the energy is going to bring for you and you can act accordingly. So that's the big stellar planning blueprint and overarching piece. Now we're going to get into what I consider to be the good stuff, which is what are the major aspects of 2025? And as I said at the top of the call, look, I said 2024 was a change and then the beginning of a new era because we had Pluto do its do between Capricorn and Aquarius. And it's now firmly there. Um, but 2025 is absolutely the start of a new era because we have a significant number of outer planets that are moving. Those are outer generational planets that set up energetic tone for the globe and for the collective. And so we'll be feeling those shifts and we will need to know how to work with them. 2025 is really going to be a powerful year that is going to be marked with transformation, innovation, and alignment. And we have essentially, if you include Pluto, four, but we have three outer planets shifting into new signs and the lunar nodes. So we have new energetic cycles starting that will be lasting anywhere from the next 18 months to the next 20 years because Pluto is has the longest cycle. So thematically, what we're looking at, and we're already in this first aspect, which I'm calling a time for rest and recalibration. Mars is currently retrograde. It started its retrograde on December 6th, so just a few days prior, and it will be retrograde until February 23rd, 2025. And so it's going to be moving back out of Leo, where it currently is, into Cancer, and then coming back again. So this, because Mars is a planet of energy, may be slowing down our inner motivation and invites us to reflect on any aspects of creative expression and emotional connections because Mars is our energy and drive, right? Use this period to recharge and realign your goals. When I think Mercury retrograde, I think I'm going, let's rethink, let's review. When I think Mars retrograde, I say let's redo. And Mars is one of our personal planets. So, yes, this is felt within the collective, but it is much more a personal energy cycle for you to attend to. Um, the year of revolutionary change. Pluto moved back into Aquarius. It started January 20th of 2024. Then it moved away and then it came back. And so now it's been there since November 19th. It has moved into Aquarius, ending a 16-year cycle that lines up with the bottoming out of the markets and the bank changes and all of that from 2008. And so we are now shifting into a whole new energetic feel around revolution and transformation, moving from Capricorn, the old guard and traditional ideas, into Aquarius, which is about communal ideas, high minded thinking, innovation, and disruption. So, this is also one of the driving forces around the growing access to artificial intelligence. This is definitely an Aquarian and Pluto in Aquarius kind of thing. So expect to see that just take off like nobody's business as a technological innovation, which can collectively empower us if we all learn how to utilize it and move without fear. Um, because this shift is so new, um, expect challenges to the old system as Capricorn established systems die off, and we have to embrace change and progress, which is disruptive, but is for our highest good. January 11th is when the lunar nodes shift from Aries and Libra, which is I and we, into Pisces and Virgo, taking us into service and belief. This is about balancing the ethereal and the practical. So it's going to encourage us to imagine and use our thought processes and pay attention to our dreams. Also, it's going to give us the internal motivation to figure out how we can ground these big ideas and practically produce them on a level. Next up is healing relationships and self worth, because March 1st through April 12th will be Venus retrograde in Aries, the first sign, and Pisces, the final sign, which is going to be calling for us to release any outdated relationship patterns. In Aries, we're going to be a little gung ho and kind of rushing forward. To borrow from Chris Brennan from the astrology podcast, his motto for Aries is ready, shoot, aim, not ready, aim, shoot, right? So we'll be moving from ready, shoot, aim. It's like, oh, my feedback loop is I do and I get information in relationships, so you may take off fast, to then going back into a more sensitive water sign, going, does this feel good? Is this really what I want? Potential hiding away, wanting to retreat. Um, and it's going to call for us to want to give ourselves a lot of self love so that we can address things. And as a note, 2025 uniquely will have, we start the year with Mars retrograde as a personal planet. We will have Venus retrograde, which is another personal planet, and a Mercury retrograde in there. Usually Mars and Venus are not, retrogrades don't overlap. They usually don't happen the same time. They kind of volley. So all three personal planets at some point early in 2025 are going to be in retrograde. So there'll be a lot of thinking about what we want to do and more stewing on it and waiting to pounce with our master plan, than rushing to take things off. By the time we get to Aries season, despite the fact that Venus is going to be retrograde during that, by the time we get to the ends of Aries season, we'll have some more release of that information, where we'll get all planets direct motion mostly, and we'll be able to kind of take off. We also have bold and inspired action and vision with Neptune entering Aries, right? This will be the first time it's done it in a century. Neptune has been in Pisces since 2011. We are talking about a really significant shift. And we're talking about the dreamy planet moving from the element of water, where it's ethereal, and Neptune is the modern ruling planet of Pisces, into fiery Aries, where again, ready, shoot, aim. So we'll be taking action and doing course correction more so on the fly as a collective than the other way around. The other major aspects of 2025 to look at are, and themes, harmonizing innovation with stability. Saturn, the planet of structure and stability, is going to make a harmonious aspect with Uranus, the planet of disruption and innovation, which gives a great blend of I can be disciplined to put something out that's innovative, creative, and bold into the world. And that's on April 4th. Emotional expansion and home focus. Jupiter will be changing signs from Gemini into Cancer on June 9th. And so that's going to take us out of expansion of communication, ideas, interactions with siblings, and things of that nature, and into nurturing behaviors, nurturing relationships, mothering, creating comfortable environments, prioritizing our emotional well-being. Cancer is the sign associated with the moon. So, and the moon rules our environment and our emotions. And so we can expect expansion over a 12 to 13 month period, starting in the middle of the year with that. Innovative thinking and communication breakthroughs. That's going to happen when Uranus, the ruling planet of Aquarius and the planet of innovation and disruption, enters Gemini. Again, a lot of things pointing towards artificial intelligence and how it's going to impact our learning, our thinking, and our communication. Because Uranus has been in the in Taurus, which is the financial sector, for an extended period of time. It's been about a 9-year cycle. And so moving the innovative, disruptive planet into the area of thinking and of Mercury means expect technology around how you learn and how you communicate and how you get ideas to across to people to just explode. And we're going to need to be ready. I want everyone to prime their nervous system for those levels of disruption so that you can welcome it as best you can and practice self-soothing where necessary, because that's what's going on. And so the more we know, the better we can modulate and align. And the final piece is just thinking about the eclipses as cosmic course correctors. We're in a crossover season where we're going to be finishing up the final Aries eclipse from the Aries Libra axis that had been going from the end of 2023 through to now the beginning of 2025. And we are starting the Virgo and Pisces axis. The nodes move in January and in March. And then in September, we'll be having some significant lunar and solar events. We're going to have a couple of total eclipses, both solar and lunar, which are really going to encourage us to release our inner critic and have some really fresh and bold starts across the board. So these are the major dates that I talked about that we want to take into consideration. These dates are outlined in the stellar year blueprints, the free stellar year blueprint as well. So make sure that you mark your calendar for these things. Um, and if you do have knowledge of your chart, I want you to go a level deeper and to ask yourself, what house is ruled by Pisces? What house is ruled by Virgo? What house is ruled by Aries, Cancer, and Gemini? Clearly, those areas are going to be under construction for 2025, and they're going to be getting a big boost and a shift, right? Things will be moving into them. Look at the chart, look at the areas, look at Taurus, to see what's going to be moving out, right? So we'll be able to track those shifts so that we can begin to understand where things are happening. I'm a Gemini rising, right? So I currently have Jupiter in my first house. That'll be leaving mid-year, but then Uranus will be there. So I'm thinking about what that means in terms of layers of natural cycles and energy. And as I come up with the plans that I want to have for the year, I'm then looking at, well, where are the energetic cycles that best support these ideas? Because normally that's not how people plan. And some of our plans go well and some experience resistance. And this is usually what I have seen creates that at the deepest of levels. Just checking in. Oh, yes, thank you. Yes, I love this. As you know your astrology, it's real. This is going to be really important. And for those people, anybody who has strong Capricorn in their chart, do a dance because the foot is off your neck. um, and you will begin to gradually feel a sense of relief. That era that you have been in for an extended period of time is done, and you can now have things solidify, and it'll be moving to a next chart, but you won't have to feel like that area is under construction. And any place that Pluto is, since it's not moving, right, that it's highly transformative. So yay, we get to move beyond that. So those are the major aspects of 2025 that I want us to be paying attention to, because that's the big container for the year, which then takes us into the retrogrades, right? I already kind of alluded to the fact that we have some interesting things going on this year. But for anybody who does not know or understand, retrogrades are when a planet appears to turn backwards in the sky, right? It happens based on the difference in orbit between our planet and their planet. It shows up as an optical illusion. However, energetically, what it indicates is that we get the inverse of what that planetary um, allocation normally provides for us. Um, all major planets go retrograde, with the exception of the sun and the moon, which are also not really planets, they're luminaries. Um, many people who know astrology light know Mercury retrograde, and it's good to know because hey, it can wreak havoc. We're just coming out of Mercury just went direct on the 15th. We're still in the post shadow. I'm definitely a Mercury retrograde town crier because I'm a Gemini rising. Mercury rules my chart, so I'm highly sensitive to it, and I track those things. But we also want to track additional planets when they're going retrograde, knowing that the personal planets, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, have more of a direct impact on our daily life versus the outer planets, which have more of an impact on the collective, the globe, and who we're dealing with in our community at large, right? So 2024's retrograde season was more so late April until early December, because here we are. Um, Yet 2025, as I said, Mercury is retrograde in January, in May, in September, and then it's going to go again in December to start, which will cross into 2026. So those are the periods of time where you want to mark doing a quarterly review, checking in. Um, I also recommend if people get frozen, I can't start anything, you can start something during Mercury retrograde, something you plan to come back to. And then you can use all of these retrograde periods to specifically design when you're going to do that work because the retrograde is going to boomerang you back to it. Venus is going to be retrograde from July to early September. We're already in Mars retrograde coming from the start of December through February. So, like I said, that as you can see in this diagram here, it during this earlier month, excluding and Jupiter's still here too. But these are our personal planets. Once we go Jupiter out, we are more in the collective generational planets. But we're going to have a period of internal reflection at the start of 2025, which means it gives us a longer period of time to flesh out how our goals are going to work and what we want to do. Um, and to do the internal setting up so that when the energy is direct, we can take off. Um, and we're ending a Jupiter retrograde at the start of February this year, and then Jupiter will go retrograde again in October and go from October to December. Saturn is retrograde from late May to October, alongside of Pluto as well. So we've got a number of retrogrades that are happening. So all planets are direct, essentially here in this little sliver between April and May, early May. But for me, I would say retrograde season doesn't really kick off until early July when we start stacking multiple outer planets in that retrograde phase. So, to think about this with Mercury retrograde, avoid contracts, launches of web in signing contracts, launches of big things, launching of websites. Communication is not always easy, so double check everything and use it as a time to look back and reflect. And if you're going to start something, make sure that it's something you want to come back to, like class or learning. That's definitely something that you should do. Ongoing learning, not just a one and done. When Venus goes retrograde, we want to think about we're going to be lacking a level of personal magnetism and attracting factor. So it's more about going back in and connecting with previous folks and Venusian ideas in our lives. Under this current Mars retrograde, it's telling you to be internal and reflective about where your energy and your battery is. Recognize that maybe plans won't get off the ground exactly the way that you want them to. And it's a time to redo things. If you're going to start something, make sure it has a prefix. Jupiter retrograde is about inner reflection and development. It's a good time to complete projects and finish programs of study. It's a more internal expansion than external expansion. With Saturn retrograde, you want to examine any structures in your life, examine your plans and your job route or your business route, and think about what you would do or how you would adjust any of those structures to better support you moving ahead. Now, Saturn and Uranus, Neptune and Pluto, their retrograde periods are long periods. They're slower moving, so it's not felt as significantly as those personal inner planets. Uranus retrograde actually tampers down on some of the, surprise, disruptive factors, but it does encourage us to make internal drastic changes, and it is good to hold off on actions unless you are okay with redoing them under that energy. With Neptune, especially for anybody who has Neptune heavily placed in their chart, like my moon and Neptune are conjunct. Um, you kind of get a bit more clarity because Neptune, naturally expressed, is cloudy and foggy. So you can do some healing, spiritual work and internal work. You get an opportunity to tap into more of your creativity. Neptune has a very strong connection to artistic endeavors. So taking a look at those and feeling internally inspired, those are all opportunities. And then, of course, with Pluto, it's an opportunity to, Pluto rules the underworld. It's going to ask you to go deep. Yeah, it's a modern ruler of Scorpio, which I'm a Scorpio sun. So it's just, whether you go in or out with Pluto retrograde, it wants you to do some excavation work. Look at your fears, look at your limiting beliefs, look at your patterns. How deeply entrenched are they? How are you going to let them go, right? How are you going to use this to clean house and make things better for yourself moving ahead? Um, so that's what retrograde season's going to be looking like for 2025. Now let's get to my favorite part. I am again, I'm a I have a lunar personality. Even when you look at my human design chart, I have my moon conjunct my descendant, conjunct Neptune, directly opposing my ascendant. That's a big way to, in astrology way of thinking. I have a lot of push and pull, but I have a very deeply intuitive signature. And I am very much so impacted by cycles of the moon, especially when it comes to one-on-one relationships, because the moon is in my seventh house. So I have found that utilizing the moon not only as a person, as a woman, but as my chart signature, that really is been a game changer for me. Um, Lunar cycles, right? Basic precepts. The most powerful lunar phases are the new moon, right, which begins the masculine yang active phase. That's when we're in flow. That's when we want to set intentions, act on our desires, take action. This is when I tell women to mark the period from the new moon to the full moon and say, this is when I am not a hustle girl at all. I'm all about the flow. But if you're going to put in your heavy work, that's when you want to do it during the active masculine phase, when you can create structures and things of that nature. And the reason is, once we hit the peak energy of the full moon and we shift into that passive yin feminine energy phase, most of us are dog tired. Now, if you are masculine energy or a man, you're like the sun. So you rise and set every day. They don't feel this fatigue, same level of fatigue in the middle of the month that we do. They can push themselves. Women do push themselves, but this is that following 2 week period where you feel like your ass is dragging. And you would be correct, because hopefully you put in a significant amount of work during that earlier period so that you can then think about how to receive, because this is a receptive phase. This is the ebb, right? We are not always on. We are on, then off. So we have to learn how to feather the gas and the brakes so that we can still get as much done as our counterparts, but with less wear and tear on our bodies. So that looks like this cycle, right? We are starting ideas of the new moon. We're getting inspired. And the first quarter moon, that's a week later. We want to check in. That's our midpoint, right? We move beyond that. We get to the full moon. We're like, yes, I'm going to release it. I'm going to put a pin in it. I'm going to trust. I'm going to release. And then I'm going to let things come back. And I'm going to focus on my self-care. And I'm going to focus on letting the energy go and reap my manifestation. You don't plant a seed, and after you've watered it and given it sunshine, you don't stand over it every day and it's like, are you going to grow? Are you going to sprout? You set up a watering system, you give it the food that it needs. You know that it will eventually do its work if you've done your part. And so I look at this as planting the seed. Here we're watering the plant and giving it fertilizer. Here's where we take our eye off of it and we know, okay, I've done all that I can. If it's going to sprout, it's going to sprout. And we rest. We don't go out and demand it to bloom, to sprout, because this is where we get into overfunctioning. This is where we get into burnout. And if you've pushed yourself to get all the way back to the new moon, how can you be effective at yet a new cycle of goal setting and doing? This is what I feel like is the power of the lunar wisdom formula and how we as women and feminine energy identifying people should work. When you work with the lunar cycle, when you plan this way, right? Whether you know your birth chart or not, you can still apply this. But you want to know, where the moon has been. You want to identify where each new and full moon will be in what house it will activate. This is the standard chart with those themes. And then it will give you the theme, energy, and archetype. So then I suggest alignment and planning. Set up what your goal is or what you want to achieve with what will be highlighted for the environmental and energetic month, which this year, interestingly enough, we've had a new moon usually at the top of the calendar month, but it's not always that way. Pay more attention to when the new moon is setting up than not, and pay specific attention to when the last quarter phase of the moon is happening. Because if I had $1 for every time a woman said she was dog tired at that rate, I would be a millionaire. That is the final week of the lunar month. And usually people are tired because they are standing over their seeds, demanding for them to grow instead of focusing on being internal. And to me, the after the full moon would be the retrograde piece, quote unquote, of the moon, right? It's when you need to not have outwardly focused energy, but internally focused energy. And it is when your self-care is best received for your body because you're in a receptive mode, right? If you use where the moon is in what chart to understand what themes are and then align your plans according to this, you will find yourself in a consistent cycle of flow. This is at the core, the heart of the lunar wisdom formula. Here is a listing, right, of all of the themes that I give to the new and full moon. Aries is about inspiration, Taurus values, Gemini communication, intuition for Cancer, creativity for Leo, programming for Virgo, partnership for Libra, transformation for Scorpio, expansion for Sagittarius, highest potential for Capricorn, innovation for Aquarius, and imagination for Pisces. These cycles are balanced, so you get the polar opposite of each other that help you balance out the energy with a new moon and where, whatever will be coming for the full moon. In both the stellar, in the worksheet here and in the stellar year blueprint, I have gamed out for you all of the new moons and full moons of the year, including where we will be having eclipses and the zodiac sign and degree, right? If you do not have your chart, you're just going to be paying attention to where the zodiac sign is and looking at the dark. If you do have access to your chart, we're going to be paying attention specifically to, did this hit a degree that activates degrees in my chart? Do I have any planets in that house? Do I have any planets in that sign? Do I have any planets at that degree? Because when a degree gets activated by degree theory, there's going to be a reverb for anything that happens. So those end up becoming deeper and more advanced, applications of this. But this is still a very potent process, no matter where you can access it. And just as a flat out example, we just had the recent full moon on December 15th at 23 degrees Gemini. And if you can see, this is my chart here. I'm 16, my ascendant is 16 degrees Gemini. So that was right here in my first house. This is Placidus listed. This is not a whole sign chart, which means it was impacting my first house, but I have a lot going on over here, as I said, Moon and Neptune. So I had the first and seventh house axis activating, right? For personally, that's about me, my body, and how I relate. For my business, which also happens to have a Gemini rising, it's about brand recognition in the world. If Gemini is about thinking, leading, communication, media, merchants, right? That makes this a great time for me to be releasing full moon and communicating Gemini, my ideas and processes in a teaching format, also Gemini, with a signature branded process, first house, right? That is how I am using the language of astrology to ultimately guide and govern the way in which you plan and get and stay in alignment. That doesn't mean that things don't pop up, but the flow is so much easier when you are that stacked and that aligned with what is going on. So that's how we're applying things for the moon. And as a follow up, right, we're going to have four eclipses this year. The eclipse series is pretty much between Virgo, service, and Pisces, belief, right? Because the lunar nodes are shifting. That means North Node will be in Pisces, South Node will be in Virgo. And this is also fun and interesting because I have my lunar nodes in Pisces and Virgo, but opposing. My North Node is in Virgo and my South Node is in Pisces. So this will be an interesting mashup, right? There will be one outlier in Pisces next door sign, right? Aries. So we'll have that final Aries eclipse, which will be closing out any of the themes that have followed along the eclipses from 2023 to 2025. Not everyone is impacted by eclipses the same. They happen in the same places all the time. For some people, they're impacted by one group or set, some group another. It really has to do with what we talked about. What's in your chart, what degree got activated, and then you have an indication of whether or not this is going to be something significant for you on a personal level or more significant for the collective. Um, and so that's what we're thinking about. But the eclipses for this year are going to be, well, 2025 will be March 14th, a total lunar eclipse in Virgo. We'll have on March 29th a partial, that's that final one, the partial solar eclipse in Aries. September 7th will be a total lunar eclipse at 15 degrees Pisces. And September 21st is going to be a partial solar eclipse in Virgo. And so those will be what we'll be dealing with. It'll be interesting to see what shows up, especially with the South Node being in Virgo, which will really kind of pull at aspects of service, but also bring more of a critical and analytical mind. And I think it will be a very good shift because historically, when the lunar nodes are in Aries and Libra, we usually fight and go to war. And we have had that happen with a number of political things on the global scale pop out. So with the North Node moving into Pisces, which is known for its compassion and its sense of belief, hopefully we'll be able to see something more warring factions, especially since Aries is the planet of war, calm down a bit. And we'll be able to shift into softer, kinder elements. Um, Again, as I've talked about, women, especially in modern times, have lost our connection with the moon, its cycles, its phases, and its moods because they impact our life, right? If you want a softer life, if you want success to not just be I did it, but also to feel good, then we have to begin to internalize what's happening with this cycle and reclaim this ancient practice of tracking where Luna is in the sky in order to improve our modern lives, right? That also involves aspects of lunar based self care because that second half of the moon, after the full, from full moon to new moon, is when we're more receptive. And we have to factor in that we must pay attention to where the moon is and give ourselves a time to rest and release in order to be in a good space, right? And in order to produce. I'm we're going to have some significant shifts into Aries, as we talked about in in major astrology. So there are some elements of softness that we won't be feeling in the collective anymore because Aries is hard charging. But that doesn't mean that you don't want to, on an internal basis, make sure that you're managing that so you can keep up with a changing element in the collective. Um, Cyclical flow equals soft life. That's just pretty much it. And so now we're going to get to the final piece, which is planetary days, right? The days of our calendar are related to each planet. Monday's the moon's day. Tuesday is Mars' day. Um, this makes so much more sense in any romance language because the root of most of these planets are still in the name of the day of the week. Mercury day is Wednesday. Jupiter's day is Thursday. Venus's day is Friday. Saturn's day is Saturday. And Sunday for the sun, right? If you are utilizing what you know or what you can see here about what the planetary energy is, right? Moon wants slower start, self-care and intuition. Mars is for taking action. That's why work week starting on Monday doesn't make sense to me. And I start my work week on Tuesday. I do work, but I do admin and I do work that can be adjusted to how I feel. When I want to front face with clients or astrology work because I work primarily with women. If not, then Tuesday is when I feel like I'm hard charging because I've got that Mars energy. Wednesday is a great day to have a meeting, communication, send out your newsletter, do the things that you want. Thursdays are great for learning, for expanding, for traveling. Venus is great for Venus and Fridays, date nights, client meetings, money making ventures. Weekends would be flipped. Most people would do cleanup, structure, and all of those things on a Saturday to get organized. And then they would spend Sunday as your day of rest and day of self focus. If you overlay what you know about the major astrology, the retrogrades, then the monthly information of the moon and the moon phases with this, which is the daily template, you have now stellar planned your way to flow and alignment, right? Um, Make sure that you use this framework to plan out your days, whether you work for yourself or not. See if you can organize your workflow, your daily flow, your home flow with these principles. If you do all of this, then bam, we're here where we're applying the stellar year blueprint. Step one, we're looking at the major aspects. Step two, we'll check in around what's happening with eclipse seasons because they have an ongoing spiral and they're pretty major events. Step three, check where the retrogrades are, make sure you mark those and know where they will be in terms of interrupting the forward flow of motion and how you can utilize their energetic principles. Then you want to go down to the monthly level and track those lunar cycles and game things out. Step five is know your planetary days and work with them to align your daily tasks with those things. And step six, which is optional, is then check out your birth chart and see whether or not some of these things are going to impact you more significantly than others because you already have existing transits or existing planets in your natal chart or your birth chart, your business chart that will be impacted by what's happening in the year. If you do this, you can stay in flow all year long. We as women just have to learn to ride the wave. And this is what I am talking about when I'm thinking about applying applied astrology with the stellar year blueprint, right? I love applied astrology because it is practical and useful and it helps us with stress. It helps us prevent burnout. It helps us interpret the world around us. It's the missing piece that most of us do not have in our calendaring or planning systems. Um, a girl like me with a Virgo stellium is a planning queen. That's how we have come to this, which I love to offer to people as a love offering and the annual stellar year blueprint because I want people to be empowered to learn to speak the language of astrology, right? Astrology is not a belief system, which you may or may not believe in. It is a language. You don't say, just like the quote says, you don't say, I don't believe in Spanish. You say, you don't understand it. And so I am on a personal mission to increase people understanding that that's how this works. Um, I I want to say thank you all for being here because that's the bulk of the presentation. And I'm going to check the chat to see if I have any questions because I do want to answer them if you have any. But I also wanted to make sure to share with people, right? This is my entry level program in terms of, and free for how people can work. You can use this video when it goes out as a replay. You can use the Stellar Year Blueprint and you can have a good time and do it yourself. Now, if you are stressed out and you are overwhelmed and you would like some support in having this done for you, then one of the ways that you can work with me is through getting a stellar blueprint personalized reading that is done for you. I'm going to pull myself up just so that all of that can be seen. And so I've got three options. One is just a basic, let's come in, let's do a 60-minute reading. I will do all of the heavy lifting for you as it relates to this. And you will get a additional guidance document with all of your personal transits that you can then use to continue to apply this. The two additional options are an extended, which is and it's like 1.25 hours, and the third is supposed to be it's longer. That's a 90-minute reading, and it has the astrology reading plus a tarot card reading to give you both of those, or oracle card, depending upon what we decide at that point. And right now, I'm doing $50 off of every one of those if you use the code Stellar 2025 at checkout and if you purchase before the end of this calendar year. And if you want to be in a space where you just want to do a little bit more and dig into this and get a bit more understanding, then I've got two programs that are perfect for you. The first one is my annual planning program, which is the Stellar Year Blueprint with Free and Clear and the Desire Map, right? This program ultimately takes you through reviewing the end of your previous year, feeling into how you want to work with all of the dynamics. And then it has a deep dive into all the aspects of the year and it's full of like 19 multimedia videos for you to go through that you can do like a planning retreat or planning ritual, and you can come back to it again and again. And if you purchase before tonight, at the end of tonight, you will get the ongoing course model where you will get ongoing updates free of charge as a result of purchasing early. And this is for planning for life. Since I am recently certified in business astrology, if you would like to do that with business astrology, then we have the Stellar Business Blueprint Solution, which can allow you to do the same aspects with your business. And for this, I'm providing a business planning document, and then we're going to be doing 4 live calls where I will be going over what to expect for each business quarter and doing Q&A to help guide you through how to create a sustainable, soulful business that doesn't drain you. And because we are not trying to burn out, especially with all the fiery energy that is coming in for next year. And again, if you want to do it yourself, then you can grab a copy of my 2025 Stellar Planner that has the Stellar Year Blueprint included in it. This has all the dates gamed out for you as well. It's a digital document, or you can print it. It also comes with a lot of helpful planning templates that are related to home and money and things of that nature, because you need a really strong masculine container to be in your feminine. You can't I just want to feel. I love to do that as a water sign. However, I'd get lost in the feeling. I have to have structures that guide me and bring me back and remind me of what I need to be doing. I personally can only rest as much as I know that I've got too strong, I've got 4 walls around me that will hold me up. And so all of these are tools that can assist you in doing just that at the highest level of support or a minimal level, as well as there are always 2 online reports: the 12-month forecaster, and you can get that at any point in the year, or the life planner, which break down lots of this information and also have an interactive calendar that can allow you to look specifically at like all the aspects that may be happening to you, and gives you layers of complexity in terms of what's happening for you in the coming year. So this is the basis of my love offering and this year's 2025 Stellar Planning Workshop. I'm going to stop my share, and I'm just going to check in to see if anybody has any questions or concerns for me before I let you go. Let me check the chat. All righty. It looks like we're doing pretty well here, not only on time, but I don't have any questions down here. If not, I really just want to thank you so much for joining me today. This is always one of the big treats of my year to be able to provide this. Oh, thank you, Azura. I so appreciate. Thank you, Kimberly. I so appreciate this. May this support you greatly in the upcoming year. May you be able to step into the new era empowered with an energetic blueprint that allows you to have continued smooth sailing. Um, I am sending all of you all so much light and love, and I hope you come back for the mid-year check-in, which will probably be in July before we hit the major, retrograde season. Happy holidays to everybody. And definitely, if you're looking for a solstice-based activity, the 21st is a great day to crack this open and get down to business as the sun moves into Capricorn, giving you a masculine container, and the energy of the start of the wheel of the year will support. All right, wise ones. Lots of light and love. Absolutely. Take care. And I will see you all very soon. All right, I'm going to stop recording.